Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Shanadra Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. Let your voice shine, and you've landed yet again at the Her Voice Shines podcast. I'm your fabulous host, Shanadra Washington, streaming from the extremely hot for Christmas, Houston, Texas. I'm like, why is it 82 out there? I'm in here with a short sleeve shirt on and some shorts. But look, I'm grateful anyway. And let me just tell you guys, I always say this, but I feel like my podcast reach new levels and new heights every recording session because we get the most amazing guests. And you guys know I take this place as a place of pride because really and truly we have the most amazing time. And I really want my guests to leave knowing that their story matters and also come on and share it so we can create a ripple effect. That's what we're here for, right? But I'm not going to yap. I'm so excited. This guest, I feel the warmth, right? I feel like we're going to have a really, really good time. So I'm going to let her come to the stage and do our normal drill. Tell us her name, where she's streaming from, and we get the magic of her story. Without any further waiting time, here's my very beautiful guest for today.
Hello. Well, I am so excited to be here, Shanadra. It is an honor. And I just want to quickly say that thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be up on your podcast like this and for establishing a platform for women. When I saw the name of your podcast was Her Voice Shines, I was like, okay, this is amazing because I truly believe that in this day and age of so much darkness, it is wonderful to see a platform where it encourages women to allow their voice to shine because girl, we were made to sparkle. And so I love seeing that you are establishing this for women to share their story and then for others to glean and to, derive so much learning and experience from others' stories. And so I just have to say kudos and hats off to you for doing this and thank you. And as she already stated, I'm Angie J, and I am right now in the lovely hills of Tennessee. We are in a city called Winchester that is south of Nashville. And if you notice, like this looks unusual, my setting, I'm not in an airplane. I was on a Zoom recently and they thought I was in an airplane. No, but I am in an airstream. And we are living in our airstream while we're building. And so that might come up later, but it has been one more journey. It's been stretching. This girl is extra. And I'm living in a 27-foot airstream right now, but I'm very grateful for this season and I'm reframing it because it is really doing some beautiful things in my life. Because after 20 years of full-time ministry, my husband and I stepped out, and it was the week before COVID. And here we are. We've been married 46 years. I know, you thought I married him at like 4 or 5, but no, seriously. But we have been married 46 years. We're in our 60s. And I love my husband, and he is a dear. We have 4 children, 2 by birth and 2 by marriage. And we love our babies. And then they have blessed us with 4 grandchildren. And so it has been a beautiful life, but it has come with challenges and a lot of pain and sorrow. When we transitioned out of ministry after 20 years, I didn't realize how much I had got caught up in a lifestyle of just doing. I did not know how to be. I did not know how to live my life without staying so busy, white knuckling my way through life and never allowing myself to have feelings. A lot of that came from complex PTSD, trauma from childhood. And with that, I had developed high functioning anxiety and I didn't even know it. I just thought it was my bubbly Tigger personality and my my daughter had said, my daughter is a trauma practitioner, and she had said, "Oh, Mom, I've always known you're anxious." I went, "Well, I didn't. I did not realize I was." And when we stepped away from ministry, then all of a sudden, I didn't know what to do with myself. I jumped right back into a business, became a health coach with a wonderful organization, but I wasn't ready. I was unhealed, and everything came to the surface. I started having all of these mind body symptoms like panic attacks, GERD, IBS. I was having chronic pain. It was just moving throughout my body because my body was trying to get my attention. My brain was using all these diversionary tactics to keep me from feeling my emotions because emotions seemed dangerous. And our brains are beautiful, but they will try to keep us safe. And so, because of that, I'd never felt my feelings until we broke away from full-time ministry, and they came like a flood in my life. And finally, after years of going through therapy, prayer, so many different avenues that I researched until I finally learned how to embrace a sacred slow and stillness and quietness. And through that, I began to feel and heal and realize that my feelings were not the enemy. They were just the pathway for my healing. And so that's a little bit about me. And I have just written, I have to say this real quick. I've just written my first children's book, and it is called Kassia's Real Big Deal Feelings. This is the first in my Real Big Deal Feelings series because I want children to find their voice and to feel their feelings because I never did. And I'm hoping this will be a catalyst for them to find emotional expression.
Oh my goodness. First off, Miss Angie talking about, oh, I'm 60 something. So if you got the magic juice you're drinking, just shoot me some juice and share the juice. So
You're so sweet.
so that I can drink it too. But in that first segment, there was a lot of things. I think one of the first things is that I don't think a lot of people, and I really can't say this because I'm of the people that I'm talking about. A lot of people don't realize the high call of ministry.
Right.
And I say it because I have friends in ministry, and of course I've been attached to smaller ministries and see, of course, when they're smaller, it takes like a lot of pull. So number one for you in taking that call and that mission of service, I have to give my hats off to you because a lot of people don't understand the ins and out of really truly walking in ministry. The other part of it, I was like, oh my gosh, this lady was doing so much, and she probably didn't even realize it at the time that she was doing it. Because one of the things you told me in your forum, you said, well, look, for a long time, I was just high functioning anxiety. And the real reality of it, Miss Angie, is that we have so many women, because I see all y'all, and look at me trying to act like I ain't in it, but I see us sometimes operating really truly in high functioning anxiety. So I want you to tell me, because there's some people that's in denial right now. So I call them out in this podcast, not in a way that's, exploitative, but a way that makes them realize, baby, you in the number.
Yeah.
You need to figure out what's going on. So tell me what normal look like, because there's a lot of people that's operating in what's normal, but it's really high functioning anxiety. What was normal back like then?
That's really good. And that's a great question because I didn't, like you said, most women, we just know we wear so many hats, and we are, it's, if you're married, it's the wife hat, and it's the mom hat, and it's the sister hat, and the auntie hat, and it's all of these different hats that we wear, and not counting your business and everything that you do, the cook, the cleaner. And we just keep going, and we don't know what I realized is I did not know that I was living in a continual state of anxiety, and I had whether you've had big T trauma or little T trauma. Big T trauma is usually related to events. Little T trauma is just sometimes related to everyday life. Mine was complex, where that is just day in and day out of living in a trauma lifestyle. But we all battle with things like that. And anxiety begins to just, it tries to surface, but we push it down and we stay busy. I mean, whether we're working all the time, or we're throwing ourselves, these devices here can be like, our enemy, because we scroll, because it feeds our nervous system's amygdala, where we begin to just almost, you see children too get so fixated, and they're starting to develop anxiety younger and younger. And so these women, that I was one of them, I did not realize it until I began to slow down, how I was white knuckling my way through life. I had a mentality, suck it up, buttercup, put on your big girl panties and quit this, whining. You can do it. Come on, get in here, push, grind. And you keep doing it to a place to your detriment, and not realizing we don't even know how to show up for ourselves with compassion. We don't know how to slow down. We feel that slow means we're unproductive. And so we keep pushing and pushing and trying. I don't know if we're trying to prove something, instead of recognizing we're running ourselves in the ground. And it will, I promise you, if you continue to live like that, it will show. Here I am, like I said, I turned 65 the end of this year, December 31st. And you will begin to start seeing it manifest. It starts manifesting even in physical symptoms that are the mind body, and they're real. Neuroscientists will tell you that, but it is coming from repressed emotions, and in a place of where we do not know how to just be and not do all the time.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, and they say you made this phrase about putting the big girl panties on. I say I don't want them. I don't want to fit them. I can't do nothing. Like, keep your big girl panties, Miss Angie. I don't want them. Keep them. Keep those panties right over there, because I don't want it. And I'm in this stage now where I talk about it often with so many competing priorities, having a son that's caregiving, trying to run a bit. It's a lot of different things. And, and I say it's a little different because, when I did work my corporate career, I stopped in 2021. It was high stress careers in financial services. It had a bunch of different things about it, but at least that was like a steady Eddie thing. It was a steady Eddie thing. You know what's coming out. You're going to have this check. You got these little benefits. You got, you're doing okay, kind of, right? And it was cushy in a sense, but it was killing me internally and mentally and spiritually. That's a different conversation. Which is why I decided to pivot. But like right now, where there's so many different stressors and so many different things, I try to not fall into that high functioning anxiety. And I'm going to tell you right now, you guys know I tell you the real truth here. There's a very thin line. And I feel like there are some days that Shanasia is very much on the line of that. Yeah. So I want you guys to hear this and really understand this, because Miss Angie said I was going on my path to the early grade. So this is not something that you just brush off and be like, oh, it'll get better. No, you have to make intentional steps now to kind of course correct. I want to go here because I think this is a very good question to kind of walk through, because you said that I didn't have the permission as a child. I didn't have the permission to cycle through these emotions and do this and that. And this kind of goes back to how that manifests in adulthood. Tell me about how those that limited ability to express emotion showed up as an adult, maybe even in ministry. Because right now I'm at the age where I can look back and say, oh, you doing this because you never resolved that wave from 10, 20 years ago. So tell me how that showed up as an adult and maybe even in your ministry.
It did, but at the time I wasn't even aware. It's now that I've taken a back seat and I'm at this new, I call it a sacred slow in my life, almost like a holy pause, living even where I'm at in such simplicity for these last 5 months. I'm recognizing, as I've sat, I journal a lot. And as I look back over my life, I began to see all of the patterns. I believe that so much of this comes from false narratives that are like a program in the back of our mind that we believe about ourselves. So there is something innate in us that I think women especially, we don't consciously say, I got to prove myself, but I feel like we feel the need to prove ourselves, to be able to juggle everything, to wear all the hats, to do all the doing, to be at all the events, to go to everything. We don't know how to say no. We end up being people pleasers, and we're not aware that in this we lose who we are, and we lose our identity, because our identity then becomes doing and not just being who we are. And out of being, we get to do, but not, we need to recognize, we need to remove I need to, I should, I have to. I believe we need to move into I get to, I want to, I choose to. And that dynamic right there will shift your perspective into seeing, whoa, these are choices I'm making. And it's not out of this need of pushing. And many times it isn't. It's not people pushing us. It is us pushing us. When sometimes we need to say, no, I can't. And ministry, yes, that was something, because as you said, it is full time. It is so rewarding. But after, I didn't even give myself time to grieve, letting go of something that we started and birthed, and were involved in for 10 years. We birthed the new campus. We were a part of a large church organization that had multi-campuses. We have had the only one in Tennessee. And when we started that, we did it for 10 years. And I didn't give myself time to even heal from just grieving of letting go. It was like a baby of letting go. We knew it was our time, but I didn't even allow myself to do that. Threw myself right back into a new career in my life. And I feel that we women do that a lot, because it's just like, oh, take this hat off. Now I've got to put on the cook hat. Okay, take this hat off. Now I've got to go wash clothes and wash dishes and take my kids to football and to dance and all of those things. And in the midst of all of that, we just lose who we are. And I do believe we can reset and find ourselves if we'll just slow down and get to know the amazing women that God has made us to be. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes perfect sense. This cycling of hacks, excuse me, is something that I don't even think a lot of women realize that they're doing, because at the end of the day, you're like, what are you actually on the race for? What is the next thing? And I tell people, like, often, I like a lot of Eastern culture stuff, but, because, they live a very, they're not on this hamster wheel like people that have Western culture. It's always like the next thing, like the next degree, the next job, the next thing, whatever. And I remember I started to interact with a lot of people, in Eastern culture, and they just kind of had a different feel and stance in life. I'm like, well, how do they get to be so chill about everything? And I feel like my world is crumbling and they're so chill. What is the dynamic? And that for me was kind of like, aha, like the wake-up call. And actually what happened, I'm going to be completely transparent. When I left corporate and I started to start this thing, I found myself being right back to where I left, but with just a different lane. I was right back in the same. I was right back in it. I was trying to learn what to do, do all the tasks, do all these things. And I remember thinking, I was like, man, it just feels like when I, started my career, I just got dumped in like a foreign land. I was a fresh college graduate, started doing all these things to climb the corporate ladder. And like, technically, in terms of effort and energy and emotion, you're doing the same thing. And, a lot of people don't want to, they don't want to admit it. They don't have that realization to it. And I've been in a really big shifting period, particularly the last couple of years. And it's like, Sinead, and look, I used to say, like 80% of that stuff don't matter. I'm getting a little seasoned. Now I say 90% of it don't really matter. So come back in 2 years, I may be up to 95. I say it don't really matter. You start to think about like what is it all for? Well, what is it, really? So, it's a really grounding time for me. And I think that so many women or sometimes never afford the opportunity or don't take that initiative to say, I got to do some real life inventory to see what the heck is going on and what do I need to change. And you kind of touched on this, but I want you to tell me, why do you think so many high achieving, particularly faith driven people miss the signs of burnout and nervous system collapse?
Wow.
Why do you think?
Well, what I truly believe, Shanadra, is sometimes in the faith field, we have this mindset of um, self care is selfish,
Talk about it.
and it is not. Because when I began to take care, let's just go to what the Bible says. Jesus said, love your neighbors yourself. Like, what? Okay, what? Love your neighbor as yourself. But we don't love ourselves. I didn't love myself. I hated
Oh,
myself.
that's
Well,
good.
I didn't know I hated myself
Mhm.
until I pulled away from everything. And I started showing up. I literally, at one point, I was having I'll be real, snot slinging. I'm on the floor. I was crying. It was like all of my feelings had came up, and I just felt like I was on fire. And I started all of these things I'd never thought about, and I'm crying, and I'm like, why am I like this? And I'm having this major breakdown. And I literally heard in my heart, and I do believe it was God speaking in my heart. And I heard, if you had a friend to come to your house right now and they knocked on the door and you heard them crying, it's in the middle of the night, what would you do? And I literally said out loud, I said, well, I would go to the door, I would open the door, and I'm like, what's wrong? And I would bring them into my home, and I would sit down on the couch with them. I'd put my arm around them or hold their hand. I would let them cry, and I say, tell me what happened. What happened? And they would begin to tell me what was done to them and how hurt they were. And then I heard in my heart, but why is it you can't ever show up for yourself like that? Well, I was dumbfounded. Show up for myself. Show up for yourself with that same compassion, because you have broken little Angies within you that felt like they never could express themselves. They did not have a voice. All of our cultures, we rarely have a home environment where emotional expression is encouraged. It's not another word. Shut it up. I don't want to hear it. And our parents were doing the best they could. Their parents probably said those same things. I even said some of those things because I said so. Instead of allowing a child to share their emotions and express their feelings, it doesn't mean our decisions will change. They still may not can go to the event, but we could allow them to feel. And I believe because there's no culture of allowing that within the home. So then as we grow up and we become adults and we're just little girls that are grown up with a lot of brokenness and a lot of hurt and pain from not feeling seen, not feeling heard, even having great homes, but we still can get lost in the shadows. And because we never express ourselves, I ended up in a hospital and thinking I'm having a heart attack with blood pressure almost 200, 199 over, I can't remember, 100 and something. And they ran test after test on me, and then did the same test a second time just to be sure, only to have the ER doctor to tell me, Miss Gray, I don't know what's going on in your life, what kind of anxiety you have, but you're having panic attacks. And I'm like, what? No, I didn't even know it because I was so high functioning. And it was when everything was stripped away from me and I did not have all of those crutches that needed me. I needed to be here, I needed to be there, I needed to take care of this. I did not know how to function. And so now my fight or flight and my nervous system was in just continual uproar because as I said, our brains are amazing, and what they're doing is trying to help us, but they will divert our attention from feeling emotions, from expressing emotions, and it begins to show up in physical symptoms. It begins to show up in anxiety and showing up in high blood pressure and all of these other things because it is trying to keep us from feeling feelings that in the past they saw as unsafe because we had a meltdown, because we don't know how to sit with ourselves and get to know ourselves and get to love these amazing creatures that God created and all the things that we have to offer. Very different from each other. I'm not to be like you, you're not to be like me, but we're unique by design. And until we can start appreciating who we are and finding our identity, we're going to keep showing up place after place, getting triggered by anxiety.
Mm, that is absolutely powerful. And to know that, and see that those physical signs that came out, it was interesting. She had a 200 over 100 something blood pressure in the hospital, thinking that she's having an actual heart attack from essentially stress and anxiety. And I tell people, stress is a killer. Stress is literally a killer. It can
Yes.
take you out of here.
Yes.
And a lot of people just don't understand that. And when I, like back in 24, my grandfather, he had a stroke. I talk about it often on the podcast. He had a stroke. And it changed our, he was, he had it at 79. I think it changed our trajectory. It still changes how we act as a family. We have a lot more different things to think about and care about and therapy and stuff. But anyway, I remember that period from maybe Jan of 24 to June or so, like around my birthday of last year, 2024. When I tell you, it's really God's grace that I am sitting here speaking to you right now.
Wow.
I am telling you this from the purest place of my heart. I do not know, because physically I was not taking care of myself. Mentally, I had so much strain because, okay, now they're elderly. What are you going to do? You know, how are we going to take care of things? You know, my grandparents have been a unit for 60 plus years. He's always been the man to take care of all the stuff. And how do we make what is happening? My child is in here. He's homeschooled. He was 7 at the time, or coming up to 8. He was 7 at the time. Like, I'm still kind of maturing and busy. I don't have stuff that's just coming in automatically. I'm having to really like get out here to grind. I was totally 100% overstimulated.
Wow.
100%. Minimal, most days sleeping on a good night 4 hours. On a good day.
Wow.
On a good day. 4 hours, maybe. If I was lucky. Because my body, it was just so tense that I could not shut it down. So even when I went in there to rest, like, okay, you have to get off from here. You know, you got to cut the computer down because, you know, you have another day. So I would try to do the right thing and go and lay down at a decent hour. But my body was so overstimulated, it could not shut down.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. And I was just thinking, you know, like, I don't know what this next thing is. I don't know what's next around the corner, but something has to change today. And I don't know. And you know, sometimes I don't even know what to pray. Like, I don't know. I've never been in this. So I'm not even sure the words to say, but my tears watered my pillows. And I said, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. You know that everything that I'm doing, it's not to, at that point, it wasn't people pleasing. It was just survival.
Yes.
Wasn't it? I said, Lord, this is just survival. You know that I am doing the best I can do with what I think I have or don't have. I think I'm doing please help me. Please help me. Please, just the strength to navigate.
Mm.
And we don't sit there and have those emotions.
No.
We don't sit there and sit with it. You know? We don't want to do the hard journey because, it's easy to look over there and tell her, Susan, Bobby, Nikki, Nick, what they need to do. But what does Angie need to do? What does Shanadra need to do? Oh, it's easy to help them. It's easy to pray them through it. But when you have to sit down and do this real thing in life and get to the hard parts of you, that's a journey many people are just not willing to take.
That's right.
Faith filled or not. And I stand on that. Because that's where the real work comes. You can do it just like you have to ask yourself, like, dang, if that was my friend, I would do this, this, and this. But Angie, what you gonna do for you though? I have to ask myself, like, Shanadra, you can show up and you can do all of this and be this for this person. But baby, it's time to turn that mirror around.
Yes.
And do the work.
Yes.
And do the real work. And that is the work that's going to free you.
Mm-hmm.
The work that's really for real going to free you. So for people, there are many people, you know, that have been taught, and especially faith-filled, you know, just pray it away. or just push through. I'm telling you real life. Just pray it away or just push through. How do you learn to invite God into your emotions instead of suppressing them? Because that's the real life. I'm gonna let you have your hand at that, because there's many people, and I want to say I am a praying sister, okay? I'll pray all day long, okay? He about tired of me. Girl, what do you want now? I'm just talking to you, just checking in. Okay? I'm a praying sister, so don't never ever mistake that. But let me tell you something, because if he only wanted us to be in spirit with him, he would have never created the human body and emotion.
That's right.
And I stand on it.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you tell someone who has just been taught, just push through it, pray through it, but they haven't invited God into the emotional space? What would you say?
First, I want to say thank you for sharing that. I mean, thank you for being real and vulnerable, because we need to hear these kind of stories. And Sinead, you're so right. We white knuckle our way through life, and we feel like emotions are the bad guy, and we forget. I've been doing a research and going through, especially the Gospels, to see Jesus and his emotions, and Jesus expressed a lot of emotions, grief. We see him expressing anger. I haven't flipped a table in a church yet, but he did. And we forget that there is even a scripture that Paul tells us to be angry. What? Be angry? No, Christians aren't supposed to be angry. Be angry and sin not. And how do you not sin? The next part of that verse says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Feel those feelings. Feel that anger. Feel it in its fullness. If you're gritting your teeth, you're pounding a pillow, you're outside pacing, feel it to every part of your being. And then, as you said, then what I do is I invite Jesus in, and I say, Lord, come into this anger, come into it and transform it. But I know that I need to feel it first. And that's what I began doing. Where I've seen my greatest healing is where I have sat with my emotions with a journal in hand, and I have wrote, and I've just sort of thrown up on God and wrote, this made me so mad, or this hurt my feelings, or I can't believe that they treated me that way. And some of this came back from what I have a lot of memory block from the trauma. And so I don't remember a lot of my childhood. What I do remember is not the best. But when I remember some of those things, I will say, Lord, would you just come into this moment? But before I ever do that, I identify my emotions. I name them. There is a term that says, name it to tame it. And so sometimes just by naming it, it begins to lose its intensity in your life when you can name what you're feeling. And when you can say, not just, I'm sad. Well, tell me about that. And do that with yourself. That's what I have sat and say, well, Angie, what's going on? What's going on right now? Because you're all weepy, and that's not wrong. I'm glad that you're able to show your grief and your sadness. I have been real weepy during the holidays, and I've realized in life, we think it's either or. We either are happy or we're sad, but I've realized, no, it's both and. I can be happy, and there's parts of me that are sad, and that's okay. I can make space for both, because that is health, and that's healthy when you can acknowledge if something made us mad. Don't just take it in. What we do is like, oh, I shouldn't feel that way, that's not good. I as a believer, I shouldn't be having those kind of feelings, but you do. And so now, name it, give it an honor for the moment, because otherwise you're just saying this don't matter, which says I don't matter. And I've realized, no, I matter. My feelings matter, because God gave those feelings to me to express, to name, to bring him into it. And when I invite him into it, I may just end up just sloppy crying, or I may just feel like, whoo, it just lifted. All of that repressed emotion begin to be expressed emotion, and it lost its intensity of where we stuff it, so we get angrier and angrier, and we get more stressed out, and we get more upset because we are not expressing what is in us and was an innate, beautiful thing that God gave us, are these emotions that we have.
Absolutely, 100%. And I'm telling you that suppressing those emotions, it catches up with you. It catches up to, like, we talking about them old raggedy big girl panties earlier. We talked about them wearing them for too long.
Yes.
They catch up. They catch up with you, and I really wish that believers could really understand that emotional piece better.
Yes.
We have a lot more rooted and grounded and emotionally intelligent folks.
That's
and
right.
I think that. And then people know that I am very strong in my faith. But I'm also too very much in tune with my emotional and intellectual sides, which is what he all created.
That's right.
He gave it to me.
Yes.
So just thinking about that, and and being more holistic, I tell my friends, I was like, some of my best friends, I was friends small circle, but I'd say they're kind of unconventional type. And I was like, they're unconventional because they have that good balance of what I just told you.
Yes.
Spiritual, mental, and emotional. They're not just so faith-filled that they're blinded by emotion, blinded by intellect, blinded by all these other things. I said they're unconventional. I said what makes them unconventional is because the convention of most folk.
You're right.
Are not going to tap in and make those parts of us that exist operate as cohesively. That's what makes a lot of people, unconventional.
Yes.
Because I will sit there and I tell my friends that they are, some of them are in ministry, but they're real church people. And I said, look now, church folks. Now I said, now church folks,
come on,
Miss Angie. Look, they know I don't mean no harm by it because they know, like, I'm not on no malicious or judgmental stuff. But when it gets to a certain point, I say, now, church folk, now I'm gonna have to excuse myself with grace, and love, and I tell them, all these different things. But I just want them to please be faith-filled. People know that I tell you my life is it's nothing without my faith. It's nothing. So I never want you to think that, because I was like, just me, the person. Nah. If you see something great for me, it's God. Because me, the person, really not. It's a crazy girl from Houston. Like, lives a random life. So you see something great. That's how you always know that my life is like. Because like me, and it just sometimes don't match up. But this grace exists for me and my story. But I always encourage, me and my friends to, I said, hey, there's some things that you need to deal with. Have your faith.
Yes.
We'll give you some tools to deal with that thing, because you're experiencing that needs to be worked out, worked through, and you need to get the tools to do that.
That's right.
I'm just saying, that's all I'm saying.
That's true.
And another thing that really, I don't want to say shifted my faith walk, but having, we talked about the whole East and Western culture thing, but having this perspective that's not only been with people that look like me and stay in the same neighborhood and do all these things, it changes you.
Yes.
It changes you, and it teaches you to look at the world and people like differently. So I remember when I was starting the podcast, and I was saying, well, hey, I'm like, well, I'm ready to do this thing. And I don't care who's coming, because I know that if they come to this podcast, they're going to be a part of my tribe. And that's just period. If they sign up for it, we're going to facilitate the best experience. We're going to make sure that this story is covered in a way that is non-biased, non-judgmental. And let me just tell you something. And I say this often. This podcast has changed my life. It's changed my life.
That's beautiful.
It has. When I come here, this place to me, and I tell people all the time, this is a place of reciprocity. There is never a time in this place where I don't learn something, Miss Angie. And we're 150 or so deep.
Yes.
Never a time where I've come here and not learn something and walked away with something that helps me walk this place. A little bit more knowledge, a little
Yeah.
bit more grace, because he created us all.
Yes.
You understand that?
I love that.
That's all I'm saying, Miss Angie. And look, Miss Angie, she say, "Oh my God, what I signed up for? I came on
No.
here."
I love it because I'm so relating to what you're saying.
Yeah, it's the reality of it, and I want to make sure I ask you this one because especially ministry and different things and just life in general. People don't understand the power of stillness and solitude.
No.
They don't understand, and this is not saying don't build community, don't show with people, just totally isolate. We're talking about two different things.
That's right.
We're talking about stillness and solitude. And man, so it was some situations where I probably wouldn't have chose solitude, but he orchestrated it, because if I wouldn't have got alone, I wouldn't have been able to hear him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to put that anchor in him.
Come
It's
on.
too noisy, but y'all too noisy. And I used to have a pastor that say y'all too freckled. They say one day you feel like a nut and one day you don't. And you want me to take this nutty information through your filter and do what with it? Yeah. So that stillness and solitude, it's a powerful tool. I think that there's a certain part of stillness and solitude that should be a part of everyone's journey.
Yes.
Tell me about your period of stillness and solitude and really what that has done for you. Because I think people hear stillness and solitude and get scared for some reason.
Yeah. Yes. We're scared sometimes to be with our own selves.
Sure. Talk
And
about it.
with me, I didn't even know how scared I was until we moved here. And we're on a lake. It's called Timms Ford Lake. And our airstream right now, I'm looking out over the lake. And it has been these last 5 months is where I finally discovered the beauty of stillness and solitude. I didn't have a clue. I knew go, do, stay busy, always in a hurry, never going somewhere. I mean, we're always like, come on, let's go, let's go. Always feeling late. And when we moved here, and it's a simple way. I mean, you're in a 27, like I said, I got a 27-foot RV. And so, cleaning might take on a very heavy cleaning day, might take 30 minutes. So it's a simpler way of life. It is very compact and it has been very stretching. But the beauty of what I've discovered is, we forget, and even talking about in the Christian world, we forget that we are tripart beings. We are body, soul, and spirit. And in church, we take care of our spirits, but we don't take care of our bodies, and we don't always take care of our soul. And our soul is made up of 3 parts. It's our mind, our will, and our emotions. And so when I moved here, I didn't realize my high functioning anxiety. I never realized I was anxious until I moved here. I knew it from being told that, but I would tell when I would be in therapy, I'd be like, I don't know that I'm getting anxious. That's all changed when we moved here. And I began going out early in the morning and taking my shoes off. They call it earthing, but grounding myself and walking barefoot, which just took me back to my childhood, because I used to run around barefoot all the time when I was a kid. In our era, we didn't wear shoes, and all summer we would go barefoot. And I would walk barefoot, sometimes go walk and stand in the lake with a cup of coffee in silence. Not have my phone first thing, not getting my brain stimulated with all of that from the very first moment I woke up. I learned to leave that alone. Don't pick it up. If I'm going to do a devotion, whatever, don't do it on a device. And I began getting up early, and I would light a candle super early, out of my comfort zone. I don't like to get up that early, but then I just started waking up naturally at 5 and 5:30, and I would sit and light a candle, and I would just be still. And then I would go outside when the sun would begin to rise and walk around in stillness and solitude. And watch the waters moving. During the fall was the most beautiful, the reflection of the trees and all their beautiful colors, like an artist. And it was like those colors bounced off and just saturated me. And it has been one of the most beautiful and freeing experiences just to be quiet. You don't like right now. If I went outside, you hear nothing, maybe some birds at times. And I lived previously at a place where it was nonstop noise and emergency vehicles and 18-wheelers. There was a truck stop near the rental we were living in before they decided to do something else with it, and we were forced to leave. So moving into this was very quick and abrupt, but it has been the most beautiful journey. It's been stretching. There's been some ugly parts because things that came out of me that I felt were ugly, but I realized even in the ugly, there was beauty. And just sitting in silence, breathing, listening to my own breath, grounding myself, looking around and using all 5 of my senses and saying, that's when you're feeling anxious, that's a way to move into a more calm, regulated state, is to start noticing. If you're driving and you're feeling your heartbeat going somewhere and you're getting nervous, start noticing all 5 senses. Okay, what do I see? All right, I see trees. I see the vehicles I'm passing or whatever. What do you hear? Out here, I hear birds, sometimes a boat passing by. What do I smell? I smell fresh cut grass. What do you taste? I'm walking around with my coffee. I taste my coffee. What do you smell? I smell my coffee. I smell the grass. I'm touching it with my feet. All of those things just brings you into a more mindful state. Mindfulness, I feel, is so important. And we even see in scripture, Jesus would separate himself and go to a solitary place. He knew the power of quietness and stillness, get away from the crowds that were pulling on him all the time. He needed those times of quietness and stillness to be with the Father. And we need it. Our nervous system. Here, I literally feel a sigh every day of my life. I'm getting so accustomed to this newness that when I go somewhere else, I'm like, oh, it's like shock to my system. But you can do this anywhere. You don't have to be by a lake. You can go to a park. You could just sit outside and be in nature and allow your system to just sort of reset, because it is so needed.
Oh man. And you know what? Very interesting. And for the first time, it's October. Yeah, 2 months ago. I went to my first RV resort. We have some friends that they bought some acres out in a town about 2 hours outside of Houston. But right now they have an RV and they stay at this RV resort, and it's actually lakeside, like here in Houston area, about 2 hours outside. And that was the first time that I've ever done that. And when I tell you, man, what a beautiful experience. So when you said that little trailer, I was like, I know exactly. I just came from the RV park and there were lots of different types of, RVs and different things. But that level of serenity is, you can't really describe it, especially now since I'm in this overpopulated Houston, Texas now, on part to be the 3rd largest in the, next year, 18 months. It's just so much noise. This used to be kind of small town, Texas small town, but to see it evolve, like this is the first time in life where I would easily say, oh, heck yeah, I'll move. I remember thinking I would probably never move out of Houston, Texas, but now it's just so much noise, so much congestion, so much traffic. Those are the physical things, but when I think about that, like mentally, I'm like, I just don't have the strong desire to be in the hustle and bustle.
Right.
I don't have that desire. Like, it doesn't fuel me. It does nothing for me. And to get out there and just really just sit out there and look at the water and, not have so many people in my space, it was really a freeing experience for me. And you would never think that would be something that I would say, but when I tell you, it's just one of the most beautiful things. And my friends will be out there for some time until their actual home is built. But their home is pretty much like in a country town, about 30 minutes from the RV park where they're parked. But when I tell you, I was like, I have finally mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually outgrown this place.
Yeah.
So to see a guest here, really flourishing and feeling okay with it, it gives me a lot of peace.
Yes.
To hear you say that.
Girl, it's not my personality either. Honey, I'm extra.
Look at her.
I gotta have my makeup on and all this kind of stuff. I'm so extra. But out here, I don't feel the need of anything, of just like what you said, just being and soaking up creation and the beauty of it. And I feel we've lost something in this nation of busyness and go and do and feeling like life is not productive if we are not always, our schedule is not packed to the brim, but it's killing us.
But it is absolutely killing us. And like, I will get up and put on the clothes and try to look decent and do all these kind of things. But I say, now look, this not like back then. I have to do this in breaks now. Okay. Now, if I look nice today, don't see me tomorrow or the next day. Give me a couple of days. Like,
I love it.
I don't want to get up every day and that's just where I am. And I'm pretty sure as time go on, it may get less and less and less, because there was a time like, oh no, this is going to be it. I used to actually have when I was in corporate, girl, I used to do Monday through Friday. I used to have all of my clothes lined up. I would get up extra early to put the makeup. I'm like, what? Why? What's happening here? I'm getting up extra early to make sure the makeup and stuff is all done. I used to, get my nails done a lot more regularly than what I do now. It was just like a whole thing. I mean, yes, there are going to be moments where I want to, dress up and feel nice for myself, but every day,
yes,
that every day it is gone out the window. I know it's my son. Like one day we went to the grocery. He said, "Mom, like, are you really wearing that?" Like, and I had to look down. I said, "Okay, you got a point. You look a little bad." I had to do a real check. I was like, well, you know what? At least I was comfortable enough to be like, I don't care, but at least you gave me a little, judgment check. So, to me, it's growth. You see it as like you going crazy, but to me, it's growth, because I don't even, he's like, oh, that's like,
I love it.
That's not it, but it's okay. So, thank you for sharing that. You give me a lot of peace, because that's actually a goal of mine. I said, one day, of course, it's a little tough with the caregiving and stuff like that. But when life presents the moment, I'm going to take it. Yes. Like I do. I it's literally, I was like, Lord, if you desire on this earthly realm, I do desire to live a period of my life that's a lot more simpler.
Yes.
A lot more slower, a lot more grounded to you. And I was like, one of the things about, the pandemic in 2020, and we were all shut in, it told me about a lot of stuff that I don't even need, that don't even matter. So while a lot of people were panicking, I had a lot of tough internal conversations and prayers during that time where the world was shut down.
Yes.
So to be honest, I'm being honest, if the world had not shut down, you would have never met me, Angie.
Yeah.
You would have never met me. I promise. I promise you, if the world had not shut down, you would have not met Shanasia. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee you that you would not have met Shanasia. There was in that time. It was in that time where I had the internal work that literally brought tears to my eyes, trying to figure out what this thing would be. And if I had not had the opportunity to slow down, an hour and 15-minute commute both ways, there's 2 hours and 30 minutes in traffic. At that time, my child was a toddler. I would have not had the opportunity to slow down and figure out what's next.
Wow.
You would have never met me. I can tell you that. I would have still been tinkering, trying to make it work on that other side where I didn't have any more grace there.
And there's the beauty that came out of it.
That part. So that was a period of solitude and stillness for me. So many people look at that. Please don't look at that as scary, because it saved my life.
Yeah.
It saved my life. You wouldn't see this version of me. You wouldn't see any of that had I not had the time to have that intimate time with myself and my Father.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see this version. It wouldn't have existed.
And the lives you're touching, wow, because of that.
Because of stillness and solitude. So I had to make sure that I had you touch on that. Now, if I give me an RV, I might come park next to yours. You say you were in Tennessee?
Yes. Come on, girl.
We could be neighbors. I can see it. We got good energy. But yeah, it really is a goal of mine to live a much simpler life. I don't
Right.
want to. I don't want to chase my entire life. I don't want to be on script with the world, basically. And I think that that's okay. I don't necessarily have the next achievement. I don't have to have that in place. I will always try to show up and give what I think he has me to give.
Right.
And to be honest, it's my energy, my joy when I put it to the space. But all this extra stuff, it's like y'all can really just keep it. I be telling me, I get a phone call, I'm like, oh man, they're gonna be trying to invite me somewhere I don't want to go. Like, I have my phone like this. I'm like, is it an emergency? Do I come? Because so much happening in the world. But girl, I'm like, I know it's foolishness. They want to, they want to take me somewhere I don't want to go.
Love it.
Because we have to talk about this book. We have to talk about the book before we go.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I really feel like it's a full circle moment for you. I really feel
It
like
really is.
yeah, I do, because as we talk and you introduced the book at the opening segment, and I said, I was back off. I called it off stage when I let you guys, have them. I said, I can see it now. Like I can see the evolution. I can see the reckoning. I can see the full circle moment. I want you to, I know we talked about it a little bit. I want you to give us a little bit about the book, where we can find it, and why that book is a full circle moment for you.
Oh, I love that you said that. It is
I
a
have,
full
I have to
full circle moment, though.
It
That
is.
right there.
It
Wow.
is.
I needed that. That's a great picture for me, because it really is, Shanadra. This book, it's been in me. I've always been a storyteller. I've always had, a bunch of children around me, and I would make up these fairy tales, and to the point that they really believed them. And that has been something I've always loved to do with my children. I made up, they wanted the made up stories more than reading books at times. But this came to me one day, the Real Big Deal Feeling series. And out of it, I thought, what should be my first book? And I have 4 grandchildren: Simeon, Cassia, Eleni, and Lydia. And that is their age, the graduation of their ages too. Simeon's the oldest. Cassia is our second grandchild. And Cassia shared, I said, Cassia, can you tell Gigi a story about when something happened that either made you sad or it angry or hurt your feelings, something? And she said yes, and it had just happened, and she had went to a new dance studio, and she takes ballet, and she also takes guitar and voice. And she told me about being someone making fun of her name, Cassia, and that a little girl said, Cassia, what kind of name is that? When they first introduced her, and the whole class laughed. And she talked and shared about how it made her angry, and it hurt her feelings. And then it made her very sad because she loved her name. And she's named after a Greek saint, Saint Cassia. My son and his family are Orthodox, and she is named after Saint Cassia, and she was the only known woman in Byzantine music that wrote Byzantine music, and so she loved her name. And so Cassia, when she shared that, I just thought, I'm going to take that. I'm going to find an illustrator, and I'll embellish it with a sprinkle of my imagination, but take her story and use the truth of her story. And I'm going to do that for all 4 of my grandchildren, and then continue the Real Big Deal series. I want to find children that have been through divorce. Like I grew up as a child that my parents divorced, children that have had parents in the military, children that have special needs. I just want them to be able, children that have had, they have been bullied or been made fun of, or they have had people coming against their race, whatever. I want to find children, boys and girls, that I can share those stories, the big deal feelings. And in my book, all of the books, because feelings are hidden and sometimes they're difficult to spot, I have hidden items on every page too, that a child, even while reading the story, they can engage in trying to find the hidden objects. And so Cassia's is the first, Cassia's Real Big Deal Feelings. And As you can see, this is it. You can find it on Amazon. It just went live, yay, December 1st. And so I'm so excited about that. And it is on, like I said, it is on Amazon, but it's Kastia's Real Big Deal Feelings, a children's picture book with search and find elements. And the next one will be Eleni Finds Her Brave Real Big Deal Feelings. And it is described here on the back. This will be the second one in the series. And so I will be getting that finished up soon and working with my illustrator. So it's a great tool. I already have teachers that are getting it for their school libraries, also for their classrooms. And it has just really blessed me because I want to see children find the ability to feel free to share their emotions, to talk about them, and parents to set the stage where parents are very transparent and saying things like, wow, mommy really lost it. And I'm having a bad day. And it doesn't make it right the way that I just blew up on you. But I just want you to know I've been really sad or whatever. It opens the door for emotional expression when we too can express our own feelings. And so I think anyone would benefit from it.
Absolutely. And I am in that part, especially with the 8-year-old son, of taking that accountability. And he, and he knows. So I'm like, well, okay, look, I know the time today was a little bit short, but I had a bunch of like competing priorities. And I promise you tomorrow we're going to have ice cream. So it's that piece of me showing him like, okay, there are times that life gets a little bit tricky, but what I'm going to do is keep my commitment to you so that we can kind of keep this thing on track. Sometimes plans don't go as expected, but if we can commit to each other, to show up and be present where we say we are, and trust me, this kid will hold me to it. And we get it done. So thanks for that reminder. Now, did you have any more connection points, Miss Angie? Did you want to give out your social media or email just for connection points, or is just the book on Amazon okay?
The book on Amazon's okay. I do have a website, and it is just www.angiejgray, and it's Gray with an A, but angiejgray.com, and that's my website. And there's more information. I also have blogs on there where I write about emotional expression and talking about the importance of naming your feelings, or the importance. I have one that's the importance of outdoors and why it's so important to get children outside in the fresh air and what it does to their nervous system and how they benefit from it. So there's blog posts and different things on there that they can check out too. And I'm very blessed that I do speak at a lot of women's events and conferences and things like that. And just I have a heart for all, but especially for children and women, because I think we can identify with not feeling the freedom to express ourselves, and how it is important, but we don't always realize that it is until it starts showing up in anxiety or even in physical sicknesses.
Absolutely. So we'll of course have those details in the description box above or below, just depending on where you watching this. And I can't wait to get the book because I'm going to read it to my son. So we're going to make sure that we read the book and let Miss Angie know what we think about it. Now, believe it or not, Miss Angie should be a little upset with me because I told Miss Angie, hey, let's come in and record a 30-minute podcast session. And we've been talking for a whole hour and 3 minutes. Now, Miss Angie, don't go and tell those people that Shanadra said.
I love it.
Okay, so I'm just saying that's just how the conversation went. Thank God I had a good space here to be able to do this. We wasn't just so, to the book today, but I'm just saying, I didn't mean to hold you for an hour and 30 minutes. That wasn't my intention.
I think we connected on a heart level, and that was beautiful.
Yes, it is.
You are easy. You are so easy to talk to.
I really appreciate that because I like to give people their time, but I'm also, I'm not the type of person like, oh, it's going to take 15 minutes and here we are 2 hours later. Like, girl, what happened? That's not Sinead. That is not Shanasia. So I said, let me make sure that I honor her in this space for coming to spend this much time with me. I do not take that lightly. I want you to know that. I want you to really know that I appreciate you. I appreciate your vulnerability because you make this place better by being and walking the way that you do. And for you to come and say, hey, we didn't feel like it, at least, sometimes an hour can drain the heck out of you, but at least it didn't feel that way. And we got to have I think we both got to have a good place to pour and a good place to really love and see each other. So I want to thank you for that. Now, this is the part in our show we're going to cue to you for final thoughts. I want to make sure you give us some great parting words for this space and really something that captures the essence of Angie Gray. So over to you for final thoughts, and I'll be back to close the show.
Okay. I just want to say to everyone, thank you for giving us this time today. And it has been a joy and an honor to be on this amazing podcast. And I want to encourage, especially all of you women out there, to be the best you that you are meant to be. Don't compare yourself to others. You're not meant to be anyone but you, beautiful you. And enjoy your life, but at the same time, begin to take inventory of your life because you only have one life to live. And you want to live it to the fullest by honoring who you are, learning to love yourself so that you can love others. And then know that you will walk out your purpose and destiny when you can accept the challenge of knowing who you are and getting your identity so wrapped up in what you're called to do, and then doing it with all the gusto that you have in life. Thank you for being here with me.
Absolutely. And to everyone out there on the Her Voice Shines podcast, I'll tell you that miraculous things happen when you let your voice shine. I don't just say that, like I really, truly try to embody that, not only in my walk, but showing you so many women who are showing up to do that. I always am honest with you. I'm not always saying it is easy, but I'm for sure can tell you as a person, a living testimony that it is for sure worth it. So all the people that's out there, like the church people say, I love you and nothing you can do about it. Until next time, we'll be back with another amazing woman here on the Her Voice Shines podcast. We love you and we're out.